All right, so I mentioned earlier today in the video that if we had any breaking news announcements regarding Switch 2 in this evening's investor call, which is going on or just happened literally minutes ago at the time that I'm filming this video, that if we had a massive announcement from Furukawa's confirming something big, that we would make a follow-up video. It's going to go up tonight. We may or may not do a video tomorrow. The long and short of it is we have massive features confirmed for Nintendo's next-gen console, and we're going to skip the intro, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, but dear God, read this. This is Furukawa at today's corporate management policy briefing. We announced that Nintendo Switch software will also be playable on the successor to Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch Online will be available on the successor to Nintendo Switch as well. Further information about the successor to Nintendo Switch, including its compatibility with Nintendo Switch, will be announced at a later date. So, we don't have a reveal time, but he just revealed two massive features that they were speculated upon. You saw the inside names like Nate the Hate reporting that backwards compat is absolutely a thing for the next gen console, and it seemed like a no-brainer when we talked about the evergreen software sales, various different data mines happening to kind of insinuate that backwards compatibility was going to be a thing. But this is the Japanese Nintendo corporate account just confirming this straight up as a feature. And of course, Nintendo Switch Online, we saw those ancient slides where Nintendo was communicating that value-added services for Nintendo account would roll forward, but they never said the exact words. Nintendo Switch Online will be rolling forward to the next-gen console, and while it would be a massive misstep to restart it, you never know with a company like Nintendo, so we know that essentially in all of its functions and features, it sounds like it's just rolling forward. Every single game we have as part of NSO today will be supported on the next-gen console, and this is massive because when you really stop and think about the kind of games library that's available on the Switch, if there was any world where we had to potentially worry about hitting the reset button on that stuff, that would have been a catastrophe in my opinion, and it would have been one of those situations where you're still having to dig out your old Switch to go play your Switch 1 games, and you have to separate your libraries. Now we're talking about the tens of thousands of plus titles that are available on the eShop for the current Switch, just seamlessly rolling forward to the next console. The amount of content you're going to have day one when you walk into a store and go buy a Switch 2, even if you don't have the budget to buy the console and a ton of other games, well, and they probably won't have a ton of games right at launch, obviously it takes time to build these things, well now you're in a situation where your entire Switch 1 library that you know and love today is just available at your fingertips, no questions asked. And you know what remains to be seen, and obviously getting into more of the speculation territory of this video, we really don't know if upgraded backwards compatibility is a thing. I would imagine it would be for select titles, and we have those outstanding rumors for like the codename U-King-O, where Breath of the Wild is supposedly has some kind of internal project that seems to be like a 4K version with no load times like we saw those Gamescom reports suggesting. Maybe Nintendo does that with select titles and it's just a $10 upgrade path for their mega sellers, just like we see Sony do, where they're remastering some more recent titles in their catalog, but if you own the game, you get a $10 upgrade path. But this is massive because you just have to worry about with companies like Nintendo when they are so creative, sometimes they kind of get in their own way from a logic-based perspective. We just talked about that earlier with them literally kind of hanging on to the Switch so long that yeah, they're down to just ride the decline of the sales because they feel like they have the right vision set up for their next gen console, and I trust them at the end of the day, but sometimes they have been known in history to make massive missteps, and not including backwards compatibility would have been one of those. Resetting Nintendo Switch Online would have been one of those, and so obviously for direct reasons this is huge news. Now, piggybacking off of the Nintendo Switch Online portion of this post is actually something else that's very interesting, because it was just spotted earlier today that the Nintendo Switch Online playtest program has been data mined effectively, and I'll let you see the headline that's been floated around online. NSO data mining reveals 4K resolution option and support for mesh shaders. Blue Sky user Watertune has data mined 4K resolution output instructions and support for mesh shaders from the latest NSO playtest software. Since Switch hardware does not support mesh shaders, this is just another breadcrumb leading to Switch 2. So this was also backed up by NecroFelipe. It is legit data mining. Essentially, the game that we're playtesting right now, or that many were playtesting out there, just has in the code 4K support baked into it and mesh shaders, which is something that Nintendo cannot and does not use on their current family of systems. So whatever that playtest program is will probably launch on both consoles right out of the gate, as we just talked about confirmation that NSO is rolling forward to the next gen console. Well, at that point you have to realize that whatever this playtest program is, whatever this game's finalized project will be, it will be released for both, likely simultaneously. So while it's disappointing that we don't have any kind of communication about when Nintendo's going to reveal additional details for the successor console, this is actually a massive statement and some massive pieces of information that we were worried may or may not be included on the next gen hardware, and they're going out of their way to at least communicate some of that stuff. So while we don't have a trailer to celebrate, we don't have an exact look at the hardware and just what all it's going to entail in a retail package, you just talk about the fact that Nintendo's developing games right now that have 4K support and different types of shaders that they've never used before. You talk about Furukawa directly confirming backwards compatibility and NSO rolling forward. And this is now, once again, a time to get excited for the next gen hardware. Like, yeah, the silence is definitely hard to deal with at times from Nintendo, but we weren't sure if we were going to get any additional nuggets of information about the console in the rest of this calendar year that we're in 2024. And I really wasn't necessarily expecting anything massive. Now, just a disclaimer for future news. Like I said, there may be some more stuff that breaks, and we may do an additional video tomorrow. We might skip tomorrow's video, but the big deal is that this Q&A session is going to continue to have different headlines dropped and different pieces of information come from it. And the big headlining pieces, it seems like Nintendo just wanted to come out and announce themselves, but we might be able to read between the lines in a few of the other communications to investors as this meeting goes on and as things are officially transcribed. And as I've said in previous videos, you do have to run the risk of not knowing the context of everything perfectly because it's being live translated by some people online. Then the official Q&A translation comes out at a later time from Nintendo, and they actually upload that document. So many more videos to come around this Q&A session, and probably some more interesting tidbits of information that we didn't get from this official Furukawa post. But since the actual announcement tweet that in this current fiscal year that we would be able to expect Nintendo to announce the successor to Nintendo Switch, this is the biggest piece of news that has dropped officially for this successor console since then, by far and away, and even more exciting because it's legit talking about features that are baked in. You pair that with data mining that supports 4K, because obviously Nintendo's not going to not do 4K. I mean, when you talk about them selling this system for the next 6 to 8 plus years, I mean, look how far into the Nintendo Switch's life cycle we are. It might be 10 years, you know, like however long they're going to sell this, it's going to need to support 4K resolution, especially when docked. Obviously, handheld's supposed to be 1080p, but this is also kind of some additional information like backwards compatibility, where not only do we have leaks and rumors suggesting that, we have straight up insiders also talking about these things. And while they can't figure out the time that Nintendo will reveal it, at least we know that these are real features and we don't have to worry about hitting that reset button on all of our precious Nintendo Switch software purchases. And really good business move, straightforward, obvious business move from Nintendo, because we just talked about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe being over 64 million units sold now. Like, the game can't stop selling apparently, and if they just have that day one ready to go for the next gen console as well, for maybe people who skipped out entirely on the Switch 1 and they get the Switch 2 and now it just works and they have that game to play also in addition to the new Mario Kart that will ultimately come out for the console. You know, this is a pro-consumer thing at the end of the day, because Nintendo could have done the route of just hand-picking some of their classic bestseller titles from the Switch and just literally doing deluxe versions like we saw them do from the Wii U to the Switch so much. They could have taken that route again, and that's not the case this time. And I didn't think we had to worry about it, but just, gosh, the confirmation, so cool. I also love NSO as it's getting more built out with a better library of games. All that stuff's there day one. I'm clearly excited, but I want to hear from you guys at this point in the video. What do you make of this announcement in the comments down below? Are you as pumped as me that backwards compatibility and Switch Online is for sure rolling forward? What do you think about the 4K data mine from the NSO playtest and the fact that that's just blatantly in the code? And obviously this will be like a cross-gen title that Nintendo releases for the next gen console. And what upcoming titles out of Nintendo's release lineup do you think might actually be cross-gen and marketed that way, where maybe Metroid Prime 4 being the prime example of one that could be in that conversation? But make sure you share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below before you leave, regardless if we agree or disagree. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell. And with that, I've been Sunbro, you've been Nation. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.